YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with NFL Week 7 bold prediction sent in by you guys through our Twitter. If you're new and you want to follow that Twitter, there's a link down below. It's a must follow to get involved with a lot of these videos and to keep up to date with the channel and NFL news. More importantly, always live tweeting during games as well. We have an Instagram, we have a Patreon, we have a podcast, got a lot going on, trying to reach that 60K subscriber goal. Full NFL coverage, trade deadline coming up. We'll have you covered for that as well. But we got power rankings, picks, score predictions, plenty more, a lot going on here. So you're going to want to subscribe and turn notifications on. We much appreciate it if you can help us get to that goal. That Patreon has a bunch of extra content, and there's even more than what's listed here. Junior score predictions. He is leading the Goat House in picks. I have my bets of the week. I've been pretty accurate on those, so those have been definitely fun to do. Looking forward to doing more of those. Got against the spread, over-under picks, and more. Have an NFL upset watch, taking all the underdogs, giving a percentage that that each team has to win. College football. Bets of the week and score predictions. Updated playoff predictions just started this week, and we'll update those every week. Bonus content, Discord access, more, and always adding more. Let's go on to the first bold prediction here of Week 7 from Mene Voichu. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. I probably did, so I apologize. Henry is getting stumped by the Steelers D-line by having only 70 yards rushing. This is an interesting one because, the Steelers have the best run defense in football. They're going against the best running back in football. So Steelers run D versus Derrick Henry going to be interesting. And that's kind of probably the game plan. Let's shut down Henry first, and then we can win the game. A little easier said than done. And Tannehill can beat you as well. But I think that's got to be the number one on the to-do list for the Steelers. So very possible. We've seen them just dominate Saquon Barkley. Obviously a little different offensive lines here, Giants, Titans, but I think this is, in 70 yards it shows how good Derrick Henry is. Him getting, stumped and having 70 yards is really, it's not that bad at all. I'm going to say this is actually warm because I think this is realistic. We go warm, realistic, hot, and piping hot. So I'm giving it warm because I think it's pretty damn realistic. I think, I think he'll have more yards than this, but not too much more. I think 70 yards against Steelers is not a bad day. Steelers got a really good run defense, so I think it's very possible here. Moving on to the next one. KMS, you're going to love Drew Lock after the KC game. And I definitely wanted to put this one in here because it's interesting. I do like Drew Lock. He was my number 2 quarterback after Kyler Murray in that draft class. I had him higher on my board than most people. I liked Drew Lock, and I still like Drew Lock. He has his moments. That's what's going to happen. Kind of growing pains. Last week, not the best week. There were some throws that were like, there you go. There's Drew Lock, like some wow throws. But then hold on to the ball too long, throwing some interceptions to put them in a sticky situation there. Did have some drops. But I wanted to put this one on here. That's kind of a weird one to put on here, but just because of that. I don't want people to get the wrong idea that I do like Drew Lock. I like his upside. But I didn't really like his game. I actually saw, and I don't like calling anybody out, so that's why I didn't say anything on Twitter. But I actually saw, and I think it was a writer, try to justify Drew Lock's game. Almost they changed his stats for. I can't stand stuff like that. They changed his stats. Like, what if the receivers caught the ball? They took away his interception. It made no sense. It's basically, if you have to do that, that says enough about what you think about the quarterback. That's just pretty terrible that some people are, it happens all the time. I think people get too attached to their quarterback. And there's reasons to get attached to Drew Lock, but it happens all the time. I think people get attached to their quarterback and start making stuff up and trying to justify everything. If you have to do that, that's really not good. But I think Drew Lock's good. I think he has quite the future here. But you're going to love Drew Lock. To answer the question here, you're going to love Drew Lock after the KC game. It's tough to answer because I don't love him, but I do like him a lot. I think it's gonna be pretty hot. I think if I end up loving Drew Lock because of the Kansas City game, he can have a good game. Again, I like Drew Lock very much. Interesting one though. Moving on, William Panagos, probably said that wrong as well. I apologize. Jalen Hurts has a passing touchdown to either J.J. Arcega-Whiteside or Wentz. Ooh, Carson Wentz action. I hope so to Carson Wentz because I'm starting Carson Wentz fantasy this week. Had Dak Prescott You know how that went? Had Ryan Fitzpatrick. You know how that's going. So I got Carson Wentz here. And I think they're going to work Jalen Hurts more in the offense. I think we all believe that. It's kind of been shown a little bit. And I could see this, but it's got to be to one of those. Is it weird that I think Wentz is more likely than J.J. Arcega-Whiteside? I think it's. I don't know if that's that weird actually. I'm going to call this. It's hot, but I'm going to call it realistic at the same time being hot because it can happen. They're going to get Hurts more involved. Good Thursday night football for the world to see against the Giants. It's a good way to test this out. I think he's got a shot to do this. It's got to, if you threw Fulgham in here. Maybe Boston, if you threw like all their weapons in here, let's make it Jalen Hurts has a passing touchdown. It'd be a little more realistic, obviously. So it's got to be one of those two guys. I'm banking on Wentz. I can actually see that happening. Hurts to Wentz. That'd be interesting. I like that one a lot. From Johnny, Aaron Jones is a career day. A lot of people posted stuff about Aaron Jones. This is the first one I saw. Aaron Jones is a career day and rushes for more than 150 yards and 3 touchdowns and 1 receiving touchdown. And even though that's a lot of numbers there, I'm actually going to call this. I'm going to call this warm. I think it's pretty darn realistic, actually, and I see a lot of people thinking this. And I think the Texans have the worst run defense in football, and I think they the Titans, the Packers, kind of lean on Aaron Jones here a little bit. They don't need to, but they kind of do, and I think he can. And maybe that's bold of me saying warm because 150 yards is a lot. But, Derrick Henry ran for 200-something. Dalvin Cook ran for 180. Maybe Aaron Jones isn't those two running backs, but he's not too far off. So I think this is pretty realistic. I think it's pretty realistic. It's pretty bold at the same time because it's a lot of yards. It's 3 rushing and 1 receiving. That's a lot. So that's pretty bold of me calling it warm, but we're gonna roll with it. That is an ugly run defense against, for the Texans against Aaron Jones. So it's a pretty tough task for them. Nick Bell, Herbert has another big passing game, but the Chargers blow another second half lead. It's a pretty good one too because that's kind of the storyline there. He has a big passing game. Chargers kind of blow it a little bit. Haven't won with Herbert in yet. He doesn't necessarily say they lose, but I'm kind of thinking he means they blow the lead and they lose the game in the second half. And I'm going to say, I think this is hot, but I think it's pretty realistic at the same time. It's kind of in the back. I picked the Chargers to win. I think they'll have a pretty good win. I think Herbert will have a pretty good game, but it's in the back of my mind. It's kind of sitting there that this something like this is a possibility that they can blow this game against the Jags. Like, we know Herbert's going to have a pretty big day throwing, but will the Chargers, will Herbert, because we've seen quite a few games where Herbert has a big day, but then he throws a pick late to kind of hurt the team. And against the Saints, he kind of did it too, but Malcolm Jenkins dropped the ball, but it was more on the play. It was definitely on the play calling and the missed kicks against the Saints. So maybe it's just, and that's kind of the type of guy Herbert's been. It's nothing new really. So maybe it's just kind of Herbert and Chargers are a perfect match because it's what they do. So it could possibly come up again, and the Jags are kind of a come from behind offense, I think, in a way, because they play a lot of quick small ball and teams are starting to game plan for that, and then they'll get up early, but then it seems like teams too often or too early kind of go into a prevent defense when they're up by a good amount, and the Chargers could do that, and that's the Jags are the last team you want to go into prevent defense against. Maybe they won't, but it's the last team you want to do that against. So they'll pick that apart, and they can come back. So I think it's pretty hot to say this specifically, and it's a game that Chargers most definitely must win and should win. But I do think it's pretty realistic there at the same time for those reasons that I explained, and I think Nick Bell's on the same page here. Graham Taylor, Kyler Murray pulls a Cam Newton on the Seahawks, but can rush from the 1-yard line for the winning touchdown at the end of the game, breaking the Seahawks' undefeated win streak. I like this one a lot because I actually talked about at some point during the week that this actually could be similar to the Patriots game. Really what goes on within the game, how much points are scored for both teams, and because, remember, Cam Newton ran extremely well against the Seahawks, and I think Kyler Murray can run extremely well against the Seahawks. So all that, what I said, all that being put together, and then Graham Taylor saying this as well, is why I liked it very much. The difference is the Cam Newton-style runs were power runs. They were power scheme runs. Kyler Murray won't really have those. But they will be design runs, so pretty similar there at least. And I think Cam Newton ran well. I think Kyler Murray can run well. Kind of going back to that Cam Newton one, I don't really put it on Cam Newton. To be clear, I don't really put it on Cam Newton. that he didn't get in. I'm not really in love with the play call. At the same time, it was working, so you kind of had to do that. But I mean, this is pretty specific because you're saying that they have to. Kyler Murray has at the end of the game. So I mean, this is. We can kind of have multiple answers to this. I mean, it's pretty piping to this specific. It's very specific thing happens. But at the same time, I could see it. I think Kyler Murray will run well. I think, I think it'll be a similar game. So it could come down to the similar thing. But, mainly if we're going this specific, it's got to be piping. But, I think it's realistic to think it can be similar and Kyler Murray can run well. And it could come down to a last-second drive there for Kyler Murray maybe running in. So that's actually pretty possible there. So, and I do think the Cardinals could break the Seahawks. I actually have the Cardinals winning. I'm very aware that it's bold and it's an upset, so I'm not extremely confident about it. But when I make my picks, I'm confident. So I'm not saying I don't think the Cardinals are going to win, but I'm picking them. It's not one of those situations at all. So it's all realistic here, but we are pretty specific on this this statement. Kurt Wall, Dallas, and the Washington football team will be the highest scoring game of the weekend. It's pretty bold. It's pretty piping. It's piping, but it could happen. It could happen, but it's pretty damn piping, It's a tough one to predict. I predicted 23-20 Dallas, so that's kind of low scoring. Not the lowest scoring I had of the week. I had a couple other games. I think the Rams-Bears should be the lowest scoring. Highest scoring game. It really could be, though. Because I could see this game going either way where Dallas' defense is terrible. Washington gets some things going. I could actually see that. I don't really see Dallas scoring like in the 40s. So I'm staying put. I think this is pretty piping. I think it'll be closer to one of the lower. It's a bold statement that actually is somewhat realistic, though, but I do think it's pretty piping there. Next, Anthony Sullivan, the OxyClean guy. The football team's D-line goes off and sacks Andy Dalton 9 times and forces 2 fumbles. So, again, we're pretty specific here. But I did like this because I think that is a reason that Washington could win the game. Is if they really get after Andy Dalton. They very well could. The key to this game I talked about in the score predictions video is mainly for the Cowboys. They have to start up. They have to get going early. They can't be forced to only throw from the pocket, be one-dimensional, because then it's going to be ugly. It's going to be bad. The football team's D-line will do something like this. 9's pretty ridiculous, but not too far off. 7, 8 times. 7 to 8's pretty ridiculous too. 7 times they can force 2 fumbles. If that happens, if the Cowboys start down, they can't get anything going, they're forced to pass. Something like this will actually happen. I won't even call this piping. I'll call it hot. Not 9's kind of piping, but it's possible. If it goes to how I just said it, it can, which it's realistic. This very well could happen. But it's pretty hot because of that 9 times, and we're getting pretty specific here. Drew Brees, Jesus, my fantasy team won't get annihilated this week. I mean, this is fucking piping right here. I mean, it's probably gonna get annihilated. So that's a pretty easy one. Moving on to Texas Bread. Dallas pitches a shutout, and their offense has no turnovers. We had a lot of Cowboys Washington ones that I like this week. Dallas pitches a shutout, and their offense has no turnovers against Washington, cementing why they are the best in the always dangerous NFC East. In a way, it's dangerous, maybe against each other, but it's not. Yeah, it's not a dangerous division. I think Texas here knows that. And has known this is. It's pretty piping. It's pretty piping. I almost said hot, but it's pretty damn piping, because that terrible defense got to pitch a shutout. I'd say it's. I wouldn't say 0% chance. I wouldn't say 0 because Washington's offense pretty bad. So it's possible, and their offense has no turnovers, which is possible. Both things are possible, but both things have to happen here. I think it's pretty piping. But I can see kind of a bounce-back game for the entire team of Dallas. I can see it, but it's still pretty piping here. And then we got the last one here from Bob. Le'Veon Bell finishes over 100 total yards and a touchdown on his debut against the Denver Broncos. And could go hot, but I'm actually going to say piping here. The main guys, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. A lot of people I think are overreacting from Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, it's a good addition. He'll be good. It's a good solid player, running back here. I got maybe hot is no. I'm keeping that piping. because total yards doesn't have to be rushing. It could be receiving as well. He definitely can do this. I don't know about this week. Then they're still trying to get him into the offense, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still the guy. He still will be the guy. So this is it's doable if they give him a decent load. I just don't think they do. I don't. Maybe this is more of a shot, more realistic a week from now, 2 weeks from now, whatever. I do think we'll see, and that's a great addition. He'll be a weapon, but I still think Edwards-Helaire is second in the league in rushing yards. Believe it or not, he's very good. He's a very good fit. So I don't think they're going to go away from that. I think Le'Veon Bell just kind of takes Darrell Williams, a guy like that, his action, but maybe takes just only a handful of reps, only a few reps away from Edwards-Helaire on top of that throughout each game. And maybe not even this week. He might not even get anything this week. It's a possibility. So we'll see, though. Should be fun to watch him in the Chiefs offense for sure. Another good fit there, but I don't think it's as good of a fit as Edwards-Helaire. That's why they took him in the first round. That's why he's been so damn good. But that's going to do it for this one. Trade deadline is coming up. We're getting started on some trade deadline content. What could happen? We already see some trades already happening. I graded the Yannick Ngakoue trade for the Vikings and the Ravens. One team got a very bad grade. One team got a very good one. So check that out. Plenty of predictions on the channel like every single week. We got you covered in season and in the off season. So please smash that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on me. Much appreciated, and it'll be well worth it for you. That is going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.